They're yours. Hit that one more time. I am the number one determinant of the success or failure. Here we go. Of my students. Hey, y'all, you have a strong summer. Kick some butt next year. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you. That's the mindset. That's the attitude. Love you guys. Thank you.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Come on in. Come on in. We're in week 79 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy, but we're on location today. Come on in. Hit that share button. I got the big guest today. Hit that share button. Hit that retweet button. Let me see who's in the building. We got Ohio Girl in the building. Somebody give me a thumbs up and let me know that you can hear me good and it's no distortion. We got Mrs. Yolanda McKinney, Ricardo Lanes or Lannis, Janine Wilkins all the way from Alaska, Grace. Oh man, I can't make that out, y'all. The print is small today with the system I'm using. We got I said Janine. We got Demetrius Scott's in the building. Central Hicks is in the building. John Herricks is in the building. Leslie Lyles, Lisa Lance Lewis, Principal Dot McKeever Jeter's in the building. Nicolette Lesniak, Lily Lanier, Michael Benton is in the building. My man, Cincinnati, Sharice Boswell Anderson is in the building. Bonnie Pinnell Shepherd's in the building. Cynthia Farmer, come on in, come on in, come on in. Hit the share button, hit the retweet button. Let them know we're live in Hammond, Indiana this morning. I told you nothing stops the virtual AP Leadership Academy. When I'm on location a few weeks ago, you know I was in Vegas, but we did this right there in Vegas. We got a lot to talk about. We got Robin Gray, we got Venice Lewis, we got Ohio Girl Jones, Tony McClenny, Lysandra Brackens is in the building. Charlena Hottie is in the building. Sienna Nichols, Create and Educate. That's Dr. Houston and Principal Taylor. They're in the building. We got Trisha Ebel, and there's Principal Tammy Taylor right there. Ronald Pugh is in the building. Felicia Davis Noel. Hit the share button. Hit the retweet button. Let them know we are here. We are here. We got a lot to talk about this morning. What time is it? It's almost that time. I got to get it going. I came on a little late, man. We had to figure out this technology, but we're here. I got a live audience in front of me. I got people in front of me. So come on in, come on in, come on in. Let me know where you're coming from. If you've been rocking with me for 79 weeks, I want to know that too, right? But if it hasn't been 79, maybe you've been with me for 70. Maybe you've been with me for 60. Let me know. Let me know. But you know something, folks, it's that time. I don't want to stall this because I'm so excited about having our guest on today. So let me get started formally by saying to you, as I always do, good morning. Man, I got echo in here, but that's a good thing. Greetings. Welcome to week 79. Can you believe it? 79. Week 79 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. And as I always say, I don't know about you. I think I know just by virtue of the fact that you checked in, but I don't know about you. But if I can speak for me real quick, I'm on fire. Y'all ain't hear me. You didn't hear me. See, I want this whole city to hear me. But why? I chose leadership. You chose leadership. So because you chose leadership, I chose leadership despite the challenges of the world, despite all the circumstances, despite the obstacles, the pressures, the demands that are going on in the world. Doesn't matter. You and I chose leadership. So because we chose leadership, we got to maintain that fire. So once again, I'm on fire. Woo! That's how I'm feeling, y'all. Let me get to my quick motivational message, y'all. I did this one some time ago, but I'm going back to it again. It's called Protecting Your Passion. Once again, protecting your passion. What am I saying? I'm saying that, all of you chose leadership because you were passionate about being leaders. You wanted to do this work. You had that fire blazing inside of you. I want to do this. I want to lead. I want to take young people to heights previously unimagined. But that was your passion that was driving that. But here we are in 2021 in the midst of a pandemic, teacher shortages, all sorts of issues politically as it relates to the virus. Your passion cannot be doused. Your passion cannot be extinguished. You have got to maintain that passion, but toward maintaining your passion, you got to protect your passion. You got to guard your passion. You got to shield your passion. So make sure that you don't allow anything, any circumstances, anything to deter you from your passion of why you chose this business in the first place. Let me give you these quick announcements real quick, and then we're going to get to our guest. Sunday morning commentary. I keep reminding you guys, check the Facebook page, Virtual AP Leadership Academy. Every Sunday morning, I write a commentary that's reflective of what we discussed on Saturday, but not the same thing. So make sure you check that out. The books, I brought them with me, but they back there. I'm not going to get them books. Just make sure you check out the Equity and Social Justice Education 50, my newest book, man. Hot, blazing hot. Get your hands on it. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, ASCD, principalship.com. Make sure you check out Sean Hurd at 10 o'clock every Saturday on Facebook Live, followed by Create and Educate at 10:30 Eastern Time, and then Josh Tovar and the crew at 7 o'clock Eastern Time on Sunday evenings. Lastly, hit that share button. Hit that share button. Man, I got a guest today. I got a guest in the building, man. Let me bring her up here. I got the principal of the year. I was getting ready to say Missouri. No, we got the National 2022 National Association of Secondary School Principals Principal of the Year in the building, Beth Houf. I'm excited about having her on here. I've known her for a few years, man, but I want to read her bio first. I want you to know what's going on here. Beth Houf is the proud principal of Fulton Middle School in Central Missouri. So I'm not far from her right now. I'll be in St. Louis by about right after I finish this. She is the co-author of Lead Like a Pirate. Make school amazing for your students and staff. Beth also serves as a facilitator for the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education Leadership Academy, providing monthly training to state education leaders. Beth is an international presenter and consultant, so she does what I do. She is also active in her local, state, and national principal associations. Beth is an adjunct professor at Westminster College in Fulton, Missouri. Fulton Middle School was Missouri, period. Fulton Middle School, which is her school, was recognized as a Missouri exemplary professional learning community and Solution Tree model professional learning community in 2019. Now check this out. Beth was named a Missouri exemplary new principal in 2011, the Missouri National Distinguished Principal in 2016. So let me put this in context. A Missouri exemplary new principal in 2011. So that means she was a baby in this business. And then in 2016, 5 years later, the Missouri National Distinguished Principal for 2016. The 2019 National Association of Secondary School Principals Digital Principal of the Year, the Education Dive 2019 Principal of the Year, the 2021-2022 Missouri Secondary School Principal of the Year, and finally the 2022 NASSP Principal of the Year. You talk about a resume, y'all. You know, I told you we bring heavyweights on this broadcast, man. That's why hit the share button, hit the retweet button, let them know we're in. We got the principal of the year for 2022. Beth also serves as a principal advisor for Future Ready Schools and is a Solution Tree PLC at Work associate. Beth's proudest accomplishments are her two sons, Paul and Dawson. She has been honored to help lead schools that both have attended, right? So here we are. Let me welcome to the virtual AP Leadership Academy, Principal Beth Houf. Give them a greeting, Beth.
Good morning. I am on fire too. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I'm a little nervous after you read all that though, right? Because I got to keep it up. But thank you. Thank you so much. I wanted to, first of all, make sure everybody saw this.
Oh, man, y'all see it?
I want to make sure everybody saw this book right here because it is amazing. The only reason why I could achieve any of those accomplishments are because of amazing people like Principal Kafele that is right here with me. Because I definitely stand on the shoulders of giants that have helped me become who I am. And really just to start it off, it's about using our voices, right? It's about using our voices to figure out how to fight for our kids and our staff. And that's really what I've learned over the years. And I look forward to sharing that a little bit with you today. So thank you. I'm honored to be in your presence always, anytime I have the chance to share space with you. And all these amazing people I've been looking and following. I see a lot of names that I recognize, and just honored to be show 79. Wow, what an accomplishment! Thank you.
79. I appreciate you, Beth. And you know, hey folks, let me holler at you guys out there. Beth and I didn't discuss her having that book now, right? Mine is I brought it. I thought to bring it, but all my stuff, my mirrors back in the bag, my books back in the bag. It's all behind me. But Beth came in so prepared. She has the book. See, that's preparation. So you know,
I don't have my book here. My book is not with me, but I got your book, so that's good.
Let's go, y'all. I got a few questions. You know, I go a little over 12, so y'all, I want you to hang with me. Let the folks hit them share those Facebook groups as well. Let them know we're in the building. Beth, let me ask you. You know what you've accomplished in 10 short years. Or 10 or 11 short years of principal leadership is absolutely amazing. What was the feeling when you were informed that you were the 2022 National NASSP Principal of the Year? What that feel like?
Well, I was definitely in awe. I know for those of you that don't know me, I can be very like right now, because I can't see everyone's faces, I'm pretty extroverted, but I'm a much more extroverted introvert. And so when I found out, like my immediate was to kind of go in. We had our superintendent had found out, they had told him. And so they developed kind of a watch party with the other principals in our town, but my family wasn't there. So I really didn't think I won. I mean, and as you're going to get to know me a little bit, I am a very small town girl with very, very, very humble roots who gets very embarrassed to hear somebody read a bio that I was very embarrassed to write, because that's not really how I came to be where I am. And so really, I was in awe. And the association's CEO, his name is Ron Nazoe. He is a phenomenal man that fights hard for kids. And he actually was in Missouri and came in and brought the award to me. And so I was really flabbergasted. But yet again, I have learned from people like you that use that moment to make sure that you use that platform. And again, thanking principals. And right now, although I always fight for kids first, one way that I'm fighting so hard for kids right now is trying to support other principals, because our job is so hard. This is year 14 for me as a building principal. And this has been the hardest. Last year was hard. And then I think we all kind of came up this year and said, okay, all right, we got over COVID. Well, we never did get over COVID. We're still dealing with COVID. And so this year has definitely been harder than any other. And so I think that just being in awe and being so incredibly grateful, it was kind of like one of those life flash before your eyes. You know, I thought so much of all of those that helped me, because in what I said, I think I said this, I was live. So I was really making sure I didn't say anything too inappropriate. Right. And I thanked the other leaders that were in the room with me, because this is an award for me. It's not you can't lead in isolation, right? You should never lead in isolation. And so this award I share with my school family. I have amazing kids here, just like I know all of you do as well. And our staff, our other principals, we are a very tight cohort here in our town. That's something that we've worked hard to create. So for me, it was just all about, how do I share this? Because you can't ever achieve anything like this without the help of so many others. So it's an award I share for sure.
I love that emphasis that you put on others, and I'm humbled to be a part of that. But we can't do this work alone. This is not even though it's a lonely position. It feels alone, but we can't do it alone, right? We're held accountable for everything. The assistant principal make a mistake, but that's on us. But just by the fact that you're so inclusive of so many others. And you and I probably lean on a lot of the same people out here. We're all in the same networks and so forth. And that's an important thing. So considering the audience that's out there, I just want you guys to keep that in mind. You can't be a lone ranger. As great as you may feel you are, you can't be a lone ranger because you're not an expert in everything about leadership, right? So I love it. Beth, as an educator, then who is Beth Houf? Who are you?
Wow. Well, I think first and foremost, I'm a mom. I have 2 boys that I love, and they also drive me bonkers at times. My oldest is 17. So for those of you that have parented 17-year-olds, you know where I'm saying. He's a senior. We just finished senior night football last time on the field last night. So definitely a year of emotions. And then my youngest is 11. He'll be with me next year at the middle school. And I think, that's really who I am. And I, part of my leadership, why, part of my passion. I know we're going to talk a lot about passion, but I believe deeply that if a school's not good enough for my own kids, it's not good enough for anyone else's kids. And so that drives me daily. And when I talk to parents, I had a difficult parent conversation yesterday, but I always keep in mind, the person on the other end of the phone just wants to be listened, or the person that's sitting next to me wants to be heard. And 99.9% of our families, they're doing the best they can. There might be somebody that might not be, but even then, there's always some reason why a person might be angry, or a person might have something going on. And the mom yesterday specifically said, although I hate that we have to be in this conversation because of whatever had happened, I appreciate you listening. So, and that's for me, it's a big part of that piece of me. That's probably, I lead with that lens the most, is how would I want to be treated if I was on the other end of the phone as a parent, or I'm an educator. I teach daily because I don't know if anybody else is keeping all the subs somewhere in our country, but the subs are not in Missouri right now. And so I have the chance to sub almost daily. Yesterday I was in an ELA classroom with some grade 6 graders. And so for me, it's always keeping my foot in the classroom and making decisions that make sense for classrooms. One of the big premises of Lead Like a Pirate is, if we talk about doing what's best for kids, right? That's why we all did this. There's not an educator, I'm a presume positive, right? There's no educator that went into this because of anything but our amazing youth. But I know as a principal, I can affect our students by taking amazing care of the staff. If I can take care of the building, inspire, motivate, take care of, and support, lift up, give good feedback to, right now, it's also getting rid of our roadblocks that are in the way of so many of our staff members. They can in turn then take care of our kids. And so while that doesn't mean, that I'm not every single day trying to make a difference in the life of our children, I know that I need to put my energy into staff. So that's another big piece. I'm all about collaboration. I feel like that people are less likely to tear down systems that they help build. And so when you can include voice in everything that you do, then you are able to accomplish so much together. That's one thing. When I was a teacher, I was amazed that leadership with teacher, you can make so much happen as a teacher leader. And then I moved into the principalship role, and I hope I get to tell that story of how I became a principal without even going to principal school, because that's definitely a pirate story for you. But it changes when you're a principal, because then people start looking at you different, whether or not you think that you're any different. It does happen. So leaning into the leadership all around you, and some of the best leaders that we have in this building are those students that walk the halls. So that's a little bit about me. I'm all about the underdog as well, and you'll get to. I know you've heard that story before, but I'm looking at how can I make sure that all truly means all. So that's a little taste of me. I think you probably get to know a little bit more about me, because I don't hold back either. I learned that from you.
Well, you got it, because nobody else going to do it but us, right? But I got so much here for you, in terms of what I want to ask you. But to the audience again, one of the things you said, if the school is not good enough for your biological children, then it's not good enough for the rest of them, right? I want you guys to hear that. I thought about that frequently. My schools were never in the district upon which where I lived at the time, but I thought about it as I walked that building a lot. Would I be satisfied with my sons, with my daughter in these classrooms? And that matters, right? So we got to ask ourselves that question on a regular basis. Beth, is interesting. I'm still in my preliminary questions. I should have told you that I do 3 preliminary before I get to the meat. So we're still in preliminary. So y'all hang with me for a while. I got the principal of the year in the building, man. So y'all just hang out with us. So when you consider all the reasons that you wanted to become a school leader, because I'm sure that there were several. There could have been a plethora. But what's that one, right? That one that you said, but I got to lead for this reason, right? And that became probably your why. What would that be?
I think for me, the why is, and I'll keep this one short because I know we're going to get deeper here in a little bit, but is that I loved teaching. I mean, that was I felt like, I know this is cliche, it was my calling. I loved it every single day. Although things would be hard, I still felt like every single day we were moving the needle, not just with academics, but life, like making a difference. But then I had the chance, Missouri had a program where you would, it was a 2-year program called Select Teachers as Regional Resources. Year 1, you received amazing training from national PD people. And so this was in 2006. And so that year I received training while I was teaching. And then the next year I was on sabbatical and still worked for my district, but then I provided free professional development to the 40 regional schools around our school. And what I noticed, I did anything. I was free PD. So I did writing workshop, discipline, whatever they needed, I figured out how to do, which really prepared me for being a principal, I feel like, too. But there were 5 schools that I did not want to go to. I just, every time I went, I would go home and it was just, and what I recognize, we all know the teacher is the single biggest impact in the lives of children. We know that. If we have great teachers every year, it's just going to bust open the system, right? But what I recognize with those 5 schools, great teachers do not like working for horrible leaders. And I said, I can go back and teach 4th grade all day long for the next 25, 30 years, but I will not feel satisfied because I know I'm going to send my kid off to the next teacher or the next school or whatever. And I want to make a bigger impact. I want to be able to make change at a bigger level because I can make change in my classroom, but I want to figure out how can I change the system, because the system, I saw some issues in the system then in 2007. And then that sort of really drove me into the principalship without any type of principal degree or right. Don't worry, I have one now.
Yeah. No, I understand.
I figured out how to do that.
I understand. So kind of along the same lines, but getting into now my real content here beyond the intro. You're obviously doing phenomenal work. I mean, that's evident. But my question to you is, to what extent is the work you do personal as opposed to just professional?
Wow, that is a great question. And I think this is probably the time that I need to tell my story a little bit. And so my story, and I'm just going to be real. I share my story very openly now because I feel like our kids need to hear it, because we have so many kids that look at me and see, oh, Miss Huff's the national principal of the year. She's never had any, I could never attain that because I've got this or this going on. And so my story starts very humbly. My mom and my father both, they found out they were going to be parents at 14. Okay. And so even in this, I know people, I always joke, people make fun of Missouri, and that's young for Missouri too. Okay. Yes. So 14 years old, my parents found out that they were going to become parents. They never married. My mom at that point started a life of addiction that luckily I can say right now is 45 years, and she is addiction free for right now, and that is really a positive thing. So my life, I was a child of poverty, and I didn't call myself that. That's not what we called ourselves, right? I just knew that I was different than everybody else. And in elementary school, I didn't notice it so much because elementary schools are a lot of times the great equalizers, especially in where I live in very rural Missouri. But middle school is where I noticed I was different. I look different. I smell different. I don't have the same clothes. I don't have the same things. And at that moment, that's when teachers twofold helped to move me into the work. I had some teachers that treated me different because of my last name, because of my circumstances, because of who I was. And then I had other teachers that looked past that and saw the potential in me and helped to cultivate. I also had two very special ladies, my grandparents, that were my two grandmothers were instrumental in my leadership capabilities. And my mom and dad had always been a part of my life, but they were babies raising babies, and they did the best they could do. So when I got to high school, I knew I wanted to do some type of service field. I wanted to become a teacher or a nurse. I couldn't decide what. I ultimately decided teaching. I was a music kid. I went to college on a music scholarship, and that's how I was able to go to the next level. And my mom, although she struggled, and she was able, to attain. She had to drop out of high school because in Missouri at that time, if you were pregnant, you were not allowed to continue schooling. And so she had to drop out of high school, and then she got her GED. Even through her bouts with addiction, she got her RN degree when I was 15 years old. I was so proud of her being, in that role. But then with nursing, she just, and again, I'm just being real. She got addicted to painkillers because of the pain that was inflicted upon her as a nurse. And she lost her job. They became homeless again, as an older adult. And for so many years, I didn't share that freely, but it's amazing how many people have gone through some type of childhood trauma in that way. And when people hear my story, they're like, well, guess what? I can do that. I can work through this, or I can. And my mom, although she struggles so much, she always said, Beth, there's reasons or results in your life. You have reasons that you can't do it, or results that make you show that you can. And that always, no matter any dark moment in my life, that's what got me through. So fast forward, college happened, and then I decided I want to go be that person. I want to be the person that helps, And so that's why, again, I tell you that story to get to your answer, is that it's so personal for me, because there are 550 Beth Huffs in this building that somehow I want to figure out how can I help them in whichever tool that I have that I can find to make sure that they have a way, And it also comes down to this, and I know you've said this in different ways with different words, but I can't just treat people the way Beth Huff wants to be treated, right? I can look in the mirror and recognize that in the mirror there are children that need some of the things I need, but I also need to look through windows and make sure that I treat people the way they want to be treated, not the way that Beth Huff wants to be treated.
Yeah,
and I think sometimes in leadership we go through and say, hey, I'm treating everybody fair. I'm treating everyone equal. No, not everybody needs that. Not everybody needs that. So again, that's why my life is very, very personal each and every day, because every kid has a story, every adult has a story, and it's my job to figure out how to help them share their story, but also just figure out, they can do anything they want. They truly can do anything they want. So, long answer to a short question, but
that's all right.
important.
That's good stuff, and that's amazing, right? I'm glad that you went in depth with it and shared it with us, because I'm looking at the comments and it's resonating with a lot of people. So good stuff. Thinking about where we are now as a society, and particularly schools. I'm in a high school right now as we speak here in Hammond, Indiana, and you just mentioned everybody doesn't need equal, and I'm here at a diversity, equity, inclusion conference, right? And that's not what it's about, being equal, because then we're bringing that equality mindset to the work, and we miss so many children. But when you factor that into a global pandemic, and you know this firsthand beyond what I would know because of the work I do versus what you do, the teachers, everywhere I go, the teachers are exhausted. The teachers are feeling overwhelmed. The principals, everybody in the school, they're exhausted. They're saying, Principal Kafele, this is a different kind of exhaustion. This is not what I'm accustomed to. Sleep doesn't solve this at all. It's something different, because we're talking about children who have been away from brick and mortar for the 2 years and so forth. And now here they are, two grade levels beyond what they used to be, but may not have had experienced the social maturation that they need. So my question to you, what could you say to our audience of leaders about keeping that fire raging, sustaining their passion, maintaining a balance despite these challenges?
Definitely. I'm right there with all of you. This has been the hardest year. Like I said, it's been the hardest year. And we started with a lot of just trying really hard to make sure that we got back to, last year we just were really, I don't know, survival mode is the right way to say it, but we really were just like, we cut everything but the bare minimum to try to make sure that we maximize social emotional learning this year specifically. And I hope we're still here because I don't see Principal Kafele anymore, but I'm going to just keep talking. I'm good at that. My husband would attest to that as well. So, but for this year specifically, and I'm just going to be real, we spend a lot of time, and this is part of Lead Like a Pirate as well, on culture first, culture next, culture always. And one of the reasons why,
that's me giving you the spotlight. You
okay. Good. I was just making sure that you didn't leave me. Okay. I just didn't. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Good. Thank you. I like the spotlight too. Thank you. Actually, I don't, but I'm excited to be here. So, anyways, so one of the things that we did this year, going into this, that's where you got to go first. You got to really make sure that you're checking on that culture, because if your culture isn't in a place that is trusting, that is, that your staff feels supported. Here's the deal. Like we're back in seat 100%, but guess what? We were that way last year. We had a few weeks of shutdown last year when we were so short subs. That's when we shut down, but we have been in seat except for just the spring of 2020. So this is year 2 of being in seat for us. So I know we're all in kind of different places. So for this year specifically, we started out and we tried to pretend that we were back to normal, right? We got the data teams going again. We were working hard on our book study. We were doing some teacher to teacher coaching, which all filled our bucket. But then it hit probably just like mid-September, and we did not have time. Like people were subbing, our staff sub all the time, all day long. And so we went back to the core of, okay, I'm going to give you time and I'm going to give you support. Because right now, if I'm in every classroom every day, that's my goal, be in every classroom every day, but I don't have to do an evaluation every time I'm in a classroom, right? If I see something that needs a little feedback, I can give that little feedback. I'm always going to show appreciation. Anytime I'm in a classroom for more than 2 minutes, I leave a note of appreciation for something that I'm seeing that is helping to build our students. But I know right now, this week, all we did, I have an assistant principal who's phenomenal. And at some point, if that's not a question, I want to talk about how amazing assistant principals are. But all we did is work on supporting the behavior needs of our families. So, of our staff families. So again, if I prioritize doing evaluations and none of the disciplines being taken care of, I'm losing all the trust of my staff, because they don't really, right now when we're in almost survival mode, it's not going to matter what I score in evaluation if I don't trust you, if I don't care about what you say, because you're too busy coming in classrooms, checking off a checkbox, versus coming in and supporting the discipline needs of students, which the discipline needs are completely tied to the mental health needs of our students. Our students very much right now, I know that I keep seeing all these graphics about how they're 2 years, they're 2 years below maturity wise, but we're not dealing with baby behaviors. Holy moly, we are not dealing with baby behaviors. We're dealing with immature adolescents making really bad decisions because of our current state. They can't cope with why they're doing it. And so it is restorative practices and restorative justice are like to the next level, but it takes so much time. So anyways, that's kind of where we are right now. But I know this week specifically, we actually had another person come in just to support the 2 principals so that we could be there. And then walking around. And for me too, like yesterday, I just think about yesterday specifically, we just made sure we were in the hallways all day. That's just one thing that the devious licks and all that stuff that's going on. I say devious licks has been happening for years. They just have TikTok now and we're able to organize it. We've had bathroom in the way that we handle that too. This is just another way that's helped our school, because we were struggling so much early on in the year, and we're still struggling, but I sat down. Our 8th graders are our leaders in the building. So we sat down and had a family meeting. And I sat down and we were in the gym, but I sat. I did not sit up like I have authority and all that. No, we sat in a kind of a circle and we just worked through it. I said, hey, Zadina, you are my leaders and I need help, because I can go the principal route and do the authoritative, shut all the bathrooms down, or I need your help. I need you to help me with this. And I know you can, because I know you're amazing students. I know you're this, right? Even though the behaviors maybe think a little bit differently. But again, so I think sometimes I'm on all these groups on Facebook, Kafele, like you are as well. And I see some of the answers to some of our problems, and I'm like, why would you do that? Like, just put the kid out for 10 days, and you're going to magically think they're going to have the tools to come back and make good decisions. Like, we got to do suspension at some time. I get that, but it's all about how do we work through the different things that are happening. And for me, again, like I said, I kind of went all over the place on that one, but it's something that's definitely what worries me is I also know my capacities, and it's how do we make sure that we can reset each night, because I walk into every day still trying to deal with the problems from the day before because we can't get through everything.
Yeah.
But I also believe deeply that we can't solve today's problems with yesterday's answers. So we're going to have to really start thinking differently with the way that we do school in general. So,
Man, you know that last thing you just said, because I was getting ready to dialogue with you on something you said prior, but that last thing you said, trying to do things we did before today. See, the word I always use is the word pivot, right? So we'll try to. I'll say to folks, what you did in 2019, 18, 17, 16, and so on, that may have been very effective then, but this is 2021, 22. And that strategy that was that just worked so well for you back then may be obsolete right now, right? So you have to pivot, you have to shift to today's times. And that's what you just said. Right. So APs out there particularly listening, but the audience is beyond APs. Hear that. Strategies for today, adapting to the reality that we're confronted by today. So with that, in the same vein, Beth, you lost your joy for leading. I've read a lot of stuff. I've read a lot of Lead Like a Pirate, and I saw there you lost your joy for leading at one point, and you were worn out and ready for a change. Prior to this period, you were a phenomenal classroom teacher. How did you lose your passion, and how did you get it back?
awesome. Okay, I saw some feedback about my sound, so I want to make sure that you can hear me okay.
Yeah, I text my wife, and she said that it was shaky for a moment, but according to her, it's good now.
Okay, sounds good. I moved my mic a little bit closer. Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, if there's anything I can do differently, you let me know. I moved my mic a little bit closer to me, but usually this is the mic that works. So, all right. Well, so that's a great. So in 2000, my leadership journey, I talked to. I've always been a leader. I'm the oldest of 5 as well, and so I've always had that in my genes, I think. But when I decided to become a principal, I kind of took you up to that moment. I had applied. A principalship was open in my district, and so I applied and was honored to be named the next principal of McIntyre Elementary School in Fulton, Missouri. And I dove headfirst in. The principal that was retiring February on, we met, and he had been there for over 20 years. And so I knew that the professional development side of the principalship, that was something that I was passionate about. The managerial side, not as much. So, but that's what he was really good at. So I spent a lot of time with him. And then he said, okay, June's coming and I'm leaving. You're going to have the summer to get ready. And so I got a letter from the federal government early August as I was, really pumped about this new principalship. And I was like, oh, they're welcoming me to the principalship. Hallelujah. That's so exciting. No, the letter said, hey, you are a failing school. You're one of the first schools that's deemed failing by No Child Left Behind, and you'll have to offer school choice to your students for the other 2 elementary schools in town. And as you can imagine, a town as small as this, when you have 3 elementaries, then that's a big culture killer, right? And so to walk into the principalship with that, I failed, in my opinion. I chased data. I knew that the only way to get off of that list was we had to hit a certain point, and we had to offer that choice until we hit that point. And so yes, we were one of the first schools off of that list. We did what we needed to do, but we dated. We measured it, and I hate that because again, I chase data. So 2014 comes along, and I was burnt out. That's not what I had signed up to be. The discipline problems were, I was an isolated principal at that time. I did not have an assistant principal. And I had just, I was over it. And I had a colleague that said, hey, the National Principal Conference is in Nashville. And I got his permission to go. And I'm going to be honest, I only heard Nashville. Okay. I just heard Nashville. I heard it was a fun place. And I was like, I'd like to go there. And so we went to this National Elementary Principal Conference. And the very first evening, I had gone to a vendor event or whatever and was sitting, and we met these principals from New Jersey and sat, and we ended up spending the whole evening with them, the Missouri principals and the New Jersey principals. Little did I know I was building my very first PLN, right? And so at that table at night, one of the principals said, hey, do you have Twitter? And I rolled my eyes. I said, I have a Twitter. I follow the 30 people that were in the Twitter workshop in the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't really know what to do with it. And he took my phone from me. He looked at my Twitter account. He said, you're not following the right people. And he went in and he showed me all these great professional developers and authors that I had no idea were on Twitter. And he said, he'd heard my story because I shared it very openly at that time too about the principalship. And he said, you're not burnt out. He said, you're isolated. You don't have support. At that time in our district, the principalship was very competitive as well. And so I didn't feel like I had a strong support system in person. I didn't have an online support system. And so he said also at that time, he said, hey, have you ever heard of the book Teach Like a Pirate? And I also kind of rolled my eyes again and said, I've taught like a rock star and a hair on fire and a champion. And why pirate? And because I was skeptical at that time. And so I had ended up going back to my room that night and I Googled it and I found an article by Shelley Burgess and it was Leading Like a Pirate. And when I read the first paragraph of that article, it talked about leading with passion. And it talked about how you can't fake passion. And passion is why you do what you do every single day. Your why. And I realized at that moment, I was trying to lead like all the other principals I'd seen. I was trying to lead like, I almost an imposter. Like I felt like I was trying to do those super serious things that I'd seen other principals do. And I lost what I had in the classroom. I taught like me. And so at that moment, I realized I needed to lead like myself as well. And so that's the whole premise of Lead Like a Pirate. It's not that we're trying to generate the same type of leaders. I guess in essence, we are. We're trying to make sure that your leadership is true to you and you're being true to you, because when you're your true self, you can inspire so much in others. And so I went back from that conference and I was on fire. It was amazing how, and I recognized at that moment too, our jobs are the most serious and important jobs of the world. Like we have the most important job. I really feel that way, but we can't take ourselves too seriously. And I was doing that, right? I was doing that. And so came back to school and it was amazing too. I noticed, and I know you had my good friend and mentor, Todd Whitaker, on last week. And Todd says, when the principal sneezes, the whole school catches it. And at that moment, I realized the only vibes I want to give off are vibes of inspiration, vibes of BAM, vibes of making sure that we're all in this together. Right. And so that's when I realized I had my true leadership compass came out in me, and I fell back in love with what I was doing and the why that I did it. So much, in fact, that's when my superintendent came and said, hey, we need a middle school principal. And I said, oh, well, I'll help you find one. I'll sit on that panel with you. I'll be happy to do that. And he said, no, we'd like you to do it. And I usually show a picture of myself in middle school so you can have the mental model of what that looks like. And but here we are 7 years later, and I am definitely the middle school principal. And I couldn't imagine being in a different place, because I love middle schoolers, because they're searching so desperately for their why. They're searching so desperately to be loved sometimes. And, that's something I do too. I tell my kids I love them every day. When I hug them and I tell them that I love them. And I think I used to be so serious in the job that, oh my goodness, no, we shouldn't do that. Now, some kids don't want to hug too, and that's fine. My husband is like, if my principal hugged me, I don't know what. I was like, that's right, because you never had a principal like me. I want my kids to remember my name. And if they're 21 years old and don't know who to turn to, they can still send me a message and say, Miss Huff, I need some help. So anyways, again, long answer to a short question, but that's what I have relied on over the past 2 years, because there have been times in these past 2 years that I am like, what in the world am I doing? This is so much. This is so heavy. I feel like I run through quicksand on the daily because of how heavy our jobs are right now. But again, if not me, then who? Right? If I'm not supporting principals, we're going to not have principals. So anyways, getting off.
You know, before I respond, I think I figured out the feedback. When I'm on with you, all the echo from the room I'm in, it's a big room,
Gotcha.
it's impacting you. So I think when I go off, then it doesn't, because when I go off, it mutes me. So they don't hear all the echo. So I'll keep doing that. But let's go back. You said you can't fake the passion. And folks on here who are regulars, they know I got an expression with that. You know, I don't know if you know, Beth, I don't know if you know Parliament Funkadelic, but that's an old 70s funk group, and I'm a funketeer for life. Now, some of the folks in the room, I could see they know what I'm talking about. See, this not Sigma, this P funk, right? So we say in consistency with Parliament Funkadelic, when you fake the funk, your nose will grow. It's called the Pinocchio Theory, right? So that's faking the passion, faking the funk, right? But going back George Clinton and P Funk, right? So somebody out there saying, "What are you talking about?" You're gonna have to Google that one, right? But yeah, you know, it's along those same lines. Then thinking about you losing that fire, and as a matter of fact, somebody wrote on here. They say you didn't talk about the jersey. Look, I'm wearing the Homestead Grays today. Negro League, that's all I wear in these broadcasts. I got like 50 of these things. And this is Josh Gibson. Yeah, Babe Ruth hit 714. Yeah, Hank Aaron hit 755 home runs. Yeah, Barry Bonds hit whatever it is he hit. But Josh Gibson hit 800, right? But he was born black. So he wasn't permitted to play in the major leagues. I rep these Negro Leagues jerseys. For those of you who may be new to the broadcast, that's all I wear. It's the brand for these broadcasts. So now along the same vein, in the same vein, Beth, how can a leader help a frustrated and exhausted teacher to get their passion back? What can they do? Because we got leaders on this call. And they're dealing with teachers who are frustrated. They're dealing with teachers who are exhausted. And then they're dealing with their own exhaustion, as we said before. So what can that leader do to help that leader to get that teacher to get their mojo back?
That's a great question. I think the biggest thing for me is to find out why, like to find the why out, like, and it really, for me, it means sitting down. I have a teacher specifically right now that is struggling, and we've got a dinner date to go out and eat dinner and just to visit and talk. And because sometimes, and it's interesting because I think we're all kind of right now on different places. We're all struggling right now. Right. And so something that I do together with our whole staff is really look at what do we have control over, right? What do we have control over? Because a lot of times the folks that are the most stressed or they're trying to control things they don't have control over. And it's so hard because so many in the education field are kind of all about control. I mean, that's what we really think about that. Or, there's our day is, well, as a principal, right? Our day is, there's no prediction sometimes to our day, but in the classroom, you write a lesson plan and it seems like it should be somewhat predictable. And that's not always the case anymore. And I think that that's the piece that we have to look at is what is it specifically that's stressing you out? And how can I help with that? Because again, for us, I feel like I have a pretty good, pulse of what's going on in our building because I ask a lot of questions. The leading by walking around, which I saw that several of you put in the chat, that's huge. When you have a chance to talk to folks, when you have an ongoing system of checking in, creating a system to check in with staff, face to face is the best for me. I feel like that's just something that a gift that I have is I can read people usually pretty well. I can tell if a person's stressed, I can tell, but also having intentional ways. So just a quick Google form. What's one thing that's going well? And then how can I support you? Because if we also can't lose sight of the good things that are going on, and I'm not talking about that toxic positivity, right? No, but my thing is if I can't find one good thing that's happened this week, I'm going to have to really dig deep. And I'm gonna probably have to go because if I've also can't find anything that's positive in a week, I'm gonna probably need to seek some help outside of just a friend or colleague, and I'm gonna probably need to talk to somebody in the medical field, and that's okay. I think that's one thing that we normalize. We are lucky to have PD days once a month, and so our last professional development day, we met together for a little time of fellowship. We had breakfast together. We had some laughs together. We really talked about our plates and how we all have different plates and our plates are made of different things. And we don't know what everyone's carrying on their plates. And so recognizing that. And then we spent the rest of the day working on the work. And then I would go around and check in with people. But I also had information available for folks that might need to check in on, like if they needed we have our employee assistance program. So having that set up. Wellness isn't just doing yoga once a week with our staff, right? Wellness is more of a mindset and a kind of a state that we do. It's a culture, really, right? A culture of wellness. And so I see, and I know they're well-meaning principles. They try to do like a week of wellness, and it's a one-time event. And the problem is if you don't have strong trust in your building, when you try to do a week of wellness or we did, this is silly, but I got to throw my silliness in there too. We're Frankful for You yesterday, and we had hot dog bar and all that, like all the fixing, and it just made everybody chuckle. But again, if I just randomly did that and said, oh, the culture is going to change because I provide lunch one day, people almost get resentful because of that. If you just are the one that's like, okay, here, I'm going to throw just a goodie table at somebody and think that you're going to whatever. And I know everybody has different opinions about jeans. I personally don't love them just because they're restrictive. I like the pants that don't button, but anyways, but like jeans days, right? Throwing jeans days at staff, like whatever, that's great. But if you don't have trust built with them, any of those little bitty trinkety things don't necessarily work. So again, for me, it really is about coaching. It's about supporting. And then also there are some staff members that teaching isn't for them, and it's okay. I think I had a teacher that I coached out, not in a bad way, but that they had just it wasn't what their passion was. And I helped them to find what their passion was. And so I think for me, and again, I see Dwight Carter, who I respect so much in the chat. Yeah, we can only control two things: our attitude and actions. And that's huge. But you have a lot of empowerment when you recognize, yesterday after 2 rough weeks, yesterday morning, I had the chance, my assistant was not feeling well. So I said, hey, I'll go outside this morning. It was raining. And every single kid, I just decided every kid, I'm going to make sure they know, whether they think I'm the craziest lady ever, that I'm so excited to see them. And that's what I did. I controlled that yesterday morning, and it was great. I came in the building and I was ready to roll. And so again, just really choosing our attitude, going back to that fish philosophy from however many years ago, choosing our attitude, but then also recognizing when we're not okay. I think sometimes we think we have to be okay all the time, recognizing when we're not okay, and then taking steps to get the support we need to get there. So
what I'm hearing in everything you said, I'm summing it up in a word, and the word is intentionality. Not that hit it here, hit it there, but I'm hearing, if I'm hearing correctly, this is something that's sustained. Your intentionality relative to just the overall temperature of the building and how folks feel. The anxiety that they may bring with the work, the frustration, the exhaustion, but you having your finger on the pulse and understanding what's going on in the building. So the reason I would even just rehash that is because of, again, the audience that's listening and those who may be aspiring, those who may be assistant, but not yet quite yet principal, and understanding that as leader of the school, that's your role. In part, that's your role. If it's too cold, if the temperature is too cold in the building, so to speak, how can I raise the temperature? If the temperature is too hot in the building, how can I lower it? And that's a part of that leadership, man. I love everything that you said here. I got a lot of questions, Beth. So let me keep it moving. In 2017, you and Shelley Burgess co-wrote and released the book Lead Like a Pirate, which was the follow-up to Dave Burgess' book, Teach Like a Pirate. To this day, you consider yourself a pirate leader. Without sharing the acronym just yet, what is a pirate leader? If you need to share the acronym, then go ahead and do it.
All right, I may have to share the acronym just a little bit. You really hit on several of the attributes. So first of all, we already talked about passion. That's first for a reason, right? It has to be, because if you truly are not passionate, and I know that I saw some questions about coaching out folks, but that's the thing, you can't fake passion. And if teaching isn't your passion, if really doing those things, but then it's really hard to stay in there. So again, if those of you that had questions about that, please, I shared my email in there, and I'd be happy to connect. But it also is about immersion. I is immersion. And you spoke specifically about intentionality, and I'm going to get to that a little bit, but that's what the immersion part is all about intentionality. And Shelly and I are slowly working on another book, because writing is not ever anything I want. We wrote Lead Like a Pirate to be a tool for others. Like, everybody would say, hey, Beth, do you have this? Can you share this with me? And so really the book became really our way of putting everything in one place. And like I said, I forget that I'm an author sometimes, because that's not why I do what I do. It's just a way to be able to support other folks. So the I is all about intentionality. And so that's what our next piece of work is all about. How do we create systems? How do we lead? And Lead talks about leveraging systems and elevating the impact and activating a team or deleting, so that you can create more time for you to do the most impactful work. And then the R, my favorite's rapport. How do you build those relationships? It's leading with relationships, asking and analyzing, really looking at the practices. I am proud to utilize the professional learning community framework. And so again, I'm not a systems person, or I'm a systems person. I'm not a programs person. So a program isn't going to fail if you don't systematically figure out the pieces of it that you need to utilize to help make sure that our kids are growing. But I'm not a systems I use to help me get results and help me be intentional in what I do. So my systems I have, like, sometimes they have to do with just the way that that operate throughout the day. I'm intentional about scheduling in time to get things done. But then asking and analyzing is really all about how do we, and this is exhausting too. And those of you that know that you do this, that you didn't really know what it was called. It's every time you do something, really analyzing, is this the right way that I should be doing it? Can I tweak this? Can I do this differently? It's being reflective. Right. And so that's the stuff that's exhausting, because you're never really finished. Right. We can go home every night, even if we get all the discipline finished, if we get all the evaluations, walkthroughs, feedback finished, we're going to go home and go, oh, wow, we've got this going on next month. How can we make this a little bit different? Which goes into the T, which is transformation. Really, I kind of started there because I've sat through a lot of really horrible meetings. I've sat through some really not great PD. I've sat through some really not engaging lessons. And so I'm always thinking about, how can I transform the norm? How can I make sure that, and sometimes it's being silly and costumey and stuff like that. But other times it's just saying, hey, kind of like the piece I shared about my kids. If I was in a PD, if I went to this PD, would I want to be there? So the PDs that I design, or the staff meeting as that I design, or whatever that I design, would I want to be a participant? And then the E, the bookend to pirate, is all about enthusiasm, because while passion can be faked, while passion cannot be faked, the funk, right? I can't wait when we're done, I'm finding that, and I'm going to listen to that the rest of the day. But the enthusiasm can be faked, right? There are times that I have to dig deep and say, okay, our kids are not going to benefit from me saying that I'm having anything but a great day. And I'm going to have to really pull it deep for that enthusiasm. So that's really what the Pirate Leader is all about. And we've evolved to really go into the anchor piece, which is also the asking and analyzing. How do we make sure that we're giving really good feedback and building trust with our staff so that we're always continually growing? But how do we also get feedback? How can we make sure that it's not just in isolation? So that, in a nutshell, is what it means to be a Pirate Leader.
I love it. And, you talked about that reflective practitioner, and, our core audience know I don't travel without this. Right. So I had to go to my bag and get my mirror, man. Hey, Josh, I hope there's no fingerprints on here, because my mother's watching, man. That's like a little inside joke we got. My mom gets on me if she sees fingerprints on the mirror, man. So the reflection, that self-reflection, is critical, y'all. So again, for those of you taking notes, that P, passion, I, immersing, R, rapport, A, ask and analyze, T, transformation, and E, enthusiasm, the pirates, right? So, and I have to have Beth on here multiple times, because we're only really talking about the P today, right? So there's so much more to talk about. I was actually trying to put the notes together to get all the letters, and I said I can't, so I just focused on passion. So you say that everyone wins, and when highly effective leaders bring their passion to the work. What does it mean to bring passion to work? What does that mean for somebody out there?
I think for me, it really means bringing out the passion in those that I serve as well. I think that when you're at Fulton Middle School, it's about, you see a lot of different things happening. And while I may have a part of all of it. It's not led by just me. It's really finding the passions of our students and our staff, and then letting them run with it. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that you'll see. We are a house school, and so one of our teachers had the chance to see houses happening somewhere all along their journey, and it's kind of like Harry Potter. And so we are 9 houses of Hornet in different cultures, and so each house has a different name, but each of the names in the different cultures stand for Hornet in that language and culture. And so we have each house has a class of 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders. So there's about 60 to 70 per house. And they work hard. At the beginning of the year, we have a house day, and they work on their motto, and they work on their, their service project. They have a partnership within our community that they partner with, because middle schoolers sometimes have a hard time seeing outside the world outside of their bubble. And so we're trying really hard to help them see outside. They also adopt a spot in our building to help keep clean and maintain. But I tell you this to tell you this. They so we work hard, because something I don't believe there's a program out there that you can buy that's going to be anti-bullying, you've got to work every single day to build those relationships for that. And so when kids feel like they're included, when they feel like they belong, when they feel like they're part of something, that helps with our social emotional side of things as well. So that's one reason, like if you're in a house, you're in the house for the 3 years at Fulton Middle School. So anyways, background, we have 2 house days a year that are student-led professional development. And so one of the things you see here, and we were honored to be featured at as a live look-in, National Association for Secondary School Principals had a live look-in while we were doing this last year. And the kids, it's actually kind of a conference that the kids develop. And we have a keynote speaker that comes in. Last year, Hamish Brewer did our keynote kickoff virtually. And then the kids actually filled out proposals of what they're passionate about. Our theme was future ready, and it was moving passions forward or something like that. I, again, did not organize any of this. We had teacher leaders that organized all of this, and I just got the resources that they needed, or get the different things out. And so all day long, the kids presented sessions on their passions. You chose which sessions you went to. And then we ended the day with a very passionate group of student performers that did a band performance for us. So I know that's just a solid example, because I know we can talk a lot about like our theories and our reflections, but I wanted to give a solid example of that. We talk about passions a lot too, but we try to put them in action. And so I think that's the biggest thing for me, is my passion is alive in our building when you see other people leading their true selves and showing their passion. And I think leaders have to know, and I'll close this up, but leaders have to know where to lead from. And so I always see the whole, like, leaders eat last. I'm going to be real with you, friends. I eat first. I eat at 10 o'clock because I need to have the energy to get through the rest of the day. I used to never eat, or I would eat last at 2 o'clock. And then I was so grouchy, I couldn't get through it. So I actually eat first. And I know, so I can have the energy to serve the longest. But you need to know where to lead from. And sometimes you got to lead out front. Sometimes those you serve need you to lead out front. Sometimes you need to lead side by side, and sometimes you need to lead from the back. You got to know when and where. And sometimes you lead from all 3 places at the same time. So
I love it. Sometimes, and Nelson Mandela, he said it himself. Sometimes you lead from the front, but sometimes you lead from the back, and make those in front feel that they are in fact leading in front. And you going back to passion, you indicated in the book that we're not going to be passionate about everything, right? There's some things, and when I read that, that really resonated with me, because there are many aspects of school leadership that I don't have a passion for. And folks on this call that are of the core audience, they know master scheduling. I have zero passion for master scheduling, right? All I want to do is oversee what I want the schedule to be, but I don't want to do it. And back in the middle school days, when I was a middle school principal and everything was manual, these long sheets of paper with these blocks, and I'm spending the entire July and August trying to make this work. And then finally one year I had the wherewithal to give it to designate a math teacher who had a mathematical mind as it related to those blocks. That teacher completed that schedule for me in less than 24 hours. And here I was spending 2 months trying to make a schedule. So I had zero passion for that and some other aspects of leadership. So with that, I'm asking you the dual question. What is it that when you think about everything that you could be passionate about, what's that thing that you are most passionate about? But what's that other area that you, as well as myself, don't have a passion for?
Awesome. I'll start with the things I don't have passion for. So yeah, master schedule. Nope, I don't like it. But I'll tell you what I get fired up about is that the system that we think that, well, because our computer system will go ahead and generate, but then they put kids in the wrong classes. Like we actually hand select where all of our kids go because we really look at individual students and their what's going to bring out the best in them. And so sometimes just having a rigid system is definitely, well, not sometimes, always having a rigid system isn't going to make that happen. And so figuring that piece out. I don't love drills. Like I hate organizing that stuff. I do not like doing it at all. I'm not passionate about that at all. I tell you, this is not going to be a popular one, but oh my goodness, all the like holiday, like the one thing I don't miss about elementary were all those parties. Oh my goodness. I would just like, I'd have to fake to be excited about all that stuff because it just gave me a headache, and I would have assemblies stress me out when I'm in charge of them. But I also recognize the reason why I'm stressed out is because a lot of our traditional assemblies are built on inequitable systems. When we start looking at some of these awards assemblies and stuff like that, that we need to really rethink the way we do a lot of the awards assemblies and the recognitions that we do. I really feel like that. And we've started to do that here. We want to get better every day and continue to do that more. But the things I'm most passionate about, and I'm gonna do some show and tell too. Okay, of course I'm super passionate about my family. I love my family. I do very much love my family. But I'm super passionate about learning. And I think you see that in me whenever those that know me, I've learned to figure out how to tame it a little bit, because sometimes if you ooze your passion a little bit too much, you overwhelm people. But I'm gonna share some books with you, because that's when I know I'm struggling is when I can't read. When I hit a reader's block, that's when I know that I'm gonna need to dig a little deeper to rest. And so, of course, I already showcased Dr. Kafele's book. I'm not just saying that because he has me on here, but anytime I need a pick me up, I either watch one of his podcast or his videos, any chance I have around him. I mean, he lifts me up and brings me, definitely brings me some big things. I read this book. I had the chance to watch this book come to life. It's called Discipline Win. It's by Andy Jacks. I read this last weekend and it just brought me back to life a little bit too, because it really, we had noticed we had so many discipline issues that we started kind of doing the whole, hey, come in, get your consequence, goodbye, come in, because we had so many. And reading this book helped me go, okay, wow, okay, I need to slow down and I need to really think about how I'm doing things again. And so that was helpful. It's a good book, and it's got some great resources in it. Now, I also I brought a couple of my other books that I feel deeply about too, is really looking at trauma specifically. So this is one of my favorite books. Talks a lot about our ACE scores and things like that. And I read this, and this is, I had to put this book down in the middle because I was ugly crying, because I finally realized the ACE piece and myself. But it really helped me to translate. And then also I'm reading this book right now, which is also something very similar, talking about trauma resilience and healing. Because that's the thing that people, I shared a little bit about my story, but I didn't go into all my traumas. But people always say, well, how did you survive that? Like, how did you survive that abuse, or and I don't always know. But again, I go back to that, reasons or results. And then I also love to read young adult books. And so this is another great one. If you haven't had the chance to, if you're just like struggling with reading and you need to pick up a book, Jewel Parker Rhodes is such a phenomenal author. But this is her newest. But then once I read this one, I'm like, I got to get more. I don't know about you all, but when I read a certain author and I just fall in love with that person, I Google them and then I order all the rest of their books. And so this was a phenomenal historical fiction. It's based on the incidences in Tulsa. And it is heart-wrenching and a phenomenal read. So those are several of my books that I'm reading now, or that have meant a lot to me. And then as a staff, we are reading this book right here, Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain. Phenomenal. This is what we're reading in my class that I teach at Westminster right now. I have a classroom management class. And so that is a book that we're reading, and we're reading it slowly. We read, one thing I would suggest, if you're doing book studies with your staff, do your book studies during contract time. Do not, don't expect our staff to be doing things like outside of school. And so for me, I also little clippets. I saw that Rosa was in here as well. I have sorry, I'm going to do not make fun of my office. Okay. I mean, you can if you want to, it's okay. It's not gonna hurt my feelings at this point, but like, you can see also, like when kids come in, this is what they see. I mean, they see all my books. Okay. Right. There's Rosa's article is hanging right up there, from colorblind to color brave. So it's, they see the different things. And then you see behind me, all of my books that are right there. When kids come in this office, they see what I'm passionate about. I usually have a book that I'm carrying around too. And I feel deeply that, I hear it's awesome that people are diversifying their libraries. I'm in very rural Missouri, right? And I hear a lot of times, well, your library should reflect the kids in your building. And I'm going to tell you right now, I feel I'm going to push back on that. Your libraries need to represent the world, because if we only stuck to the kids that were in our building, we would be leaving out so many. And so I think for us, we work hard at that. And it starts with the leader. It starts with the leader. You got to model what you expect in others. So, okay.
Let me tell you something. I'm sitting here and I'm so glad I don't have to feel embarrassed when you just showed your office. I'm glad I don't have to feel like, ouch, because I'm the same way. I didn't have, see, like all the books I had in my office, they weren't for me solely. I needed my kids to see that. But I had their work samples. I mean, this is the main all people look at me like, why you got a student work sample in the principal's office? Because I needed them to see that I had profound appreciation for the work they did. So I always would tell teachers, send me some of their work, or I would give them some assignments. But in addition to that, when you started dropping names, now you said Zaretta Hammond's book, she's on here sometime as a attendee. And so as soon as whenever I switch out to other roles outside of leadership, she'll be one of the first people I ask to come on here. And then I noticed you had Rosa Perez Isaiah, because she was just on recently. So yeah, we're reading a lot of the same people, but that office. Hey, let me talk to the audience real quick. Hey y'all, I hope you saw that office. Right, that's a principal's office right there. That's not a corporate office.
When my award is right down there, like I feel bad, but there's my Principal of the Year award in that box, right? So I mean, I know I need to probably get a place to put that, but
no, but you know something, I got to say this, and real quick, y'all. I see what time it is. It's like 12:10 Eastern time, right? Y'all don't leave. Hang with us, right? We gonna get out of here at a good time, but hang with us. I never ended 12, man. I don't know what being on time is. I know what being on time is to start things, but I don't know what being on time is to end things, right? So, when I became a principal said to me, like I had all my awards, right? And a big box of awards. I'm getting ready to put them on the wall. And the veteran principal, he came to my office and he said, hey, Kafele, one day, he said, trust me, those awards are going to take themselves off of your wall. I didn't know what he meant. I said, man, you're crazy. I said, I'm proud of these awards. I work hard for these awards. They're never coming down. Let me tell you something. They came down. They lost their relevance for me because they were from the past, and the past didn't matter anymore, right? So I kept like maybe a couple up just so the students could see them. But it took like 10 years for that to resonate. I said, I don't want to look at these awards anymore, because it ain't about that. It's about these kids in the school right now, and I haven't earned anything for them, right? I got work to do, right? So I love that you showed that. Hey, somebody out there watching, if your office is looking like you the president of IBM or something, you might want to make a shift, right? You may want it to look like you the principal of an elementary school or a middle school or a high school, and it's student-centered, it's student-friendly. That matters. Let me keep going, y'all. I'm not going to keep you all day. Beth, you talk about in the book, Lead Like a Pirate. You talk about content passion, particularly as it relates to the leadership, and that's something else that resonated with me. But I don't want to talk about what it is. I want you to do that. What is content passion relative to school leadership, and what's the relevance of that to our audience today?
Definitely. So within passion, we kind of split it into different things. Our content passion is like within leadership, what are you super passionate about? And so for me, I am kind of, and I say this in the book, I'm an anomaly because I do get passionate about a lot of things. That's something I do get passionate about a lot of things. But for me with content, a couple different things come to play, as you can tell by looking around me. Literacy is something that is huge because literacy saved me. Being literate, being a reader, again, I credit that to my mom, and I, the good news too, I didn't tell the end of my story with that. I want to throw this in there. So in August, my mom had gotten married to my stepdad. They've since divorced, but in August I got the call and it was time to put mom in a nursing home. And my mom is very young, as you can imagine. So that was tough. But in August, I was able to bring mom here to my town, and with her, she wanted to do that. And so my mom is literally a mile and up the road from me in an assisted living care facility, doing better than she's ever done in her life. And we have rekindled our relationship because we didn't always have a strong relationship. And so that is really great. And then my dad lives 2 hours down the road, and he and I's relationships are stronger than they've ever been too. So there's a happy ending there, because sometimes I think we don't get to hear the happy ending. So anyways, so content passion for me, illiteracy, and my parents both instilled that in me. And so I always had a book growing up, and the library was my friend. That was something I overcompensated for our other lack of resource by having a mind that could figure out how to read all the different things I could read. And so for that, but I don't have my diplomas up either. Yeah, I don't have those. I don't even know where they are, to be honest with you right now. So literacy is huge. Also social media. Now I'm going to tell you, I hate social media, right? So it's not my passion. I don't like, oh, how can I get on social media? No, but I figured out how to use social media as a means to communicate and build culture. And so for me, it's all about how can I show, when I had the chance to move to Fulton Middle School, we were in the very same place that my elementary had been. We were a focus school. We changed the word we used to describe a failing school. It was a focus school. Our APR was abysmal. And so we had work to do, but we led with culture. We figured out first, how can we develop a school where our kids want to be, our staff want to be, and the principal wants to be every day, right? And it was a ton of hard work, but you can change culture on a dime whenever you get the right people helping to move the ship, when you can collectively do that. And so anyways, we did that same thing at Fulton Middle School. I think it's important. I don't share those stories to say, like, to give myself kudos. I share that if I didn't just inherit, like, I didn't just go into a place that was we had to work hard to get there. And so other people can do that too. If you're sitting there at a school and you're like, oh my gosh, we got to get our test scores up. Test scores started to come up when kids wanted to be there, when our staff wanted to teach there. And so, but again, I didn't do that in isolation. So the social media piece came in, is that people are in with lack of information, people make up their own. And the stories that people were talking about our school, and they weren't true. They were not true. And so we had to get our story out there. So for me, utilizing social media as a means to tell our story, I started out as the storyteller in chief, kind of at the beginning. But again, if the principal's the only one telling the story of the school, that's not the real story. So at this point now, we have, now I will tell you though, because of the heaviness that we have, I try to take more of it right now. I actually have a staff member that's getting her leadership degree, so she actually takes over more of the social media. But we share our story every day. Our staff members tweet to our school hashtag so that we can show what's happening in each of our classrooms. Because again, when you just have a singular means of communication, people aren't always able to see that. And so we share on our Facebook pages where our parents are. We use Twitter to kind of knock the walls down, but then we utilize Facebook we take things from our hashtag and put them on our Facebook account. And I get fired up about that, because in our families, there's nothing more that our families want to do than see their kids learning and being excited. Because I don't know about you all, but in Missouri at Fulton Middle School, when the kids go home, sometimes they tell their kids or their families they didn't do anything all day long, right? My own son would tell me that when he went to this school. What'd you do today? Nothing. I know you dissected frogs. Don't tell me you didn't do anything. So again, and that was something I really, Todd Whitaker is a perfect example for those that listen to him. Social media is not going to save you, but it definitely, if you can also model the positiveness that can happen from social media, that's a good thing.
Good stuff. It's I'm looking at the clock, and I know it's getting late, and I got a million questions on here. I'm not even going to ask them all to you. I'm going to save them, because I still have I got the rapid fire questions I want to throw at you too. But let me ask you this question. The APs that are watching, the aspiring APs who are watching, but let me zero in on the AP. There's an AP out there watching right now that feels underutilized, right? That feels misunderstood in terms of the position itself. What do you say to that assistant principal right now? Because I know they're watching somewhere. I don't know. I don't have a person in mind, but I just know that person's watching. It feels like my talent is not being used. It's being wasted. What do you say to that assistant principal out there to keep that person passionate about the role moving forward? And I'll add, I guess it's a lengthy question. What could they do to increase their capacity of leadership?
Mm-hmm. Well, I just read Dwight Carter say, find ways to lead up. That's so true. I think for me, and I will be clearly honest with you too, my first role as an administrator was a principal, a head principal, because we didn't have assistant principals at that time in the elementary. So I started out as a person that did all of the things. And so when I moved to the middle school and had my very first assistant principal, we led as dual principals. The AP kind of did a lot of the more of the discipline, but I personally feel very much that if we want to lead up assistant principals, we can't just have only silo roles, but I also recognize not everybody thinks that way. And so for me, I value deeply the voice of the assistant principal, because just the sheer, you never know what's coming in your office as an AP. If you truly are the one that's having to deal with the majority of the discipline, you have no idea what your day is dictated by whatever decides to happen. And so again, if you are struggling, if your passion is struggling, for me, it's about like having that clear line of communication with your principal that you have. And I know that we have all different people in all different places, and I value communication so much. And I used to be a person that, if I didn't, because again, very rural Missouri, very humble roots too, of, hey, if something's not good, you don't share it. You're quiet. And I have had to learn to advocate and say, hey, if something's not going on, I need to talk to that person. And also like Dwight's also saying too, like, yeah, do it. Like, it's amazing. I think sometimes we worry about stepping on toes, but really whoever we're leading with is overwhelmed. And so if you take the lead and go with it, that's awesome. And that's something that I have tried to do too. I'll say, hey, I noticed that this is something I'm super passionate about. Here's what I'm thinking. Are you good with it? And 9 times out of 10, the person's going to say, absolutely, go for it. And that 10th thing, that's when you have to start to analyze, if a person isn't embracing your leadership, are you in the right place? Right? Because I love where I'm at. And it's not perfect always. And there's times when, and my superintendent, he pushes me. I've had 2 that I've worked under, 3, I guess, as I've worked under here. But I also am not scared to go and sit and communicate with him when I feel like my leadership is not being utilized correctly. So I think communication and initiative are huge, 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 huge. And it's so important to me. And I don't know if you all have talked about this, because our lead lap chat usually happens at the same time. So I don't get to participate live as much as I would like. But you got to be on the same page, because when it's kind of like people have referred to it as mom and dad. If mom and dad are not talking, or we go to one staff member, here's this message from you and a different message from the head principal, then that's a problem too. So I put in time, and I'll just throw this in there. I know we're going way over, but we have a lunch. We meet at 10 o'clock time together to really talk about the day. So if you don't have that with your head principal, or if it's not a way, like you have so many principals in your building, like figuring out a way that you can have regular time. Maybe it's once a week. Maybe it's once every couple of weeks. For us, it's every single day. We make sure that we meet to hash through things. So just a few. I think you all figure this out too. There's no one way of doing things. And that's the blessing and curse of leadership, is there's no magic bullet, right? You have to really know where you are, and then really dig and have awesome people like Principal Kafele that you can reach out to, or any of you. Again, I'm a little slower these days, but you can message me anytime, and I'm happy to brainstorm through things, talk on the phone. I'm happy to give you my cell number, whatever, because we're all in this together. And if it can help kids in Missouri or New Jersey or wherever you may be, they're all our kids. They're all our staff, really.
I love it. And, it's interesting you said that about the contact, because here's where I want to go. Before I get to rapid fire, which I call my BAM impact questions, I want you to tell the folks how they can get in touch with you, your social media platforms, your books, how they can purchase them, everything that they need to know, because, you got people on here that obviously know your work, and then you got others who were introduced to you today, and I want them to be able to take you with them beyond just this broadcast. So go ahead and tell them everything they need to know.
Definitely. I keep it pretty simple. I am, if you Lead Like a Pirate, you can find on Amazon. It's pretty easy to get there. Beth Houf, BETHHOUF @gmail. That's my personal email. Twitter is @Beth Houf. Same thing, super easy. And then those are the best ways to get a hold of me. I am, although I try to be, I try to be active on social media. I have not been as active as lately, just because it's, you can't do everything, right? But I am very active on Twitter. I utilize that as for my learning and connection. So would love to connect with you. And again, Beth Houf at gmail.com. Feel free to reach out. We are leadlikeapirate.net. If you do a search for Lead Like a Pirate website, you'll find our website. A lot of our blog posts are there too. But yeah, and I would, like I said, just love to support you because again, we're all in this together. And had I not had that principal conference, had I not sat at that little, vendor event and found the person, and I think Principal Kafele, Jay Billy is the person that was sitting across from me from New Jersey. And he's the one that really helped me to realize that PLN piece. So had I not had that, and had I not had awesome people like Principal Kafele that have been support systems, I wouldn't be able to do the work I do. So please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, reach out, folks. All these folks that we bring on, that's just part of your PLN, and your network. I want to go through these questions. I call them my BAM impact, just one word answers or one sentence, whatever you feel most comfortable, but they're going to come rapid. So nothing to elaborate, just hear it out and hit me up. Bam, here we go. It's 21 of them. We're going fast. Is education on the right path for underserved children?
Not yet.
Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and other underserved students?
Not yet.
Does your work, does your work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
I sure hope so.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
Same.
Why do you continue to do this work?
Hope for change.
What keeps you fired up about this work?
Every single student, every single day.
What do you love about the work you do?
Every single student, every single day, every single staff, every single day.
There you go.
Twice on Fridays.
What do you dislike about the work you do?
The inequities that are continually become harder and harder to overcome because of the political climate of our country.
What has been your greatest victory in this work?
Not there yet. Not there yet.
What was your greatest mistake?
Not using my voice sooner.
What has been your greatest challenge?
Not using my voice sooner.
Are you proud of your first year? Now, this one's obsolete, but I'm just going to read you out the answer. Are you proud of your first year as an assistant principal, which you bypassed? So let's go to the next one. Are you proud of your first year as a principal?
Yes, because I didn't give up.
Who inspires you?
My own sons.
What are you reading right now? And we know that now.
You know that, yep.
Yep. What book do you recommend for our listeners?
Whatever book you need to get your passion back. Sometimes that book is a fun read. Sometimes that book is an inspiring read. Whatever you need at this moment.
Love it. What do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
I truly want to continue the work on inequities in our systems, breaking up the systems. I want to change. I want to change the whole educational system. I just don't know how yet.
Are you satisfied with where you are professionally right now?
What, to quote Hamilton, right? I'll never be satisfied, right? You got to keep going. I'm always hungry to be better. Hungry to be better for our kids.
That's my hashtag. Never satisfied. We're almost done. What could you say to a viewer out there who continues to face closed doors?
Find a window, jump out.
I got to repeat that one. Find a window and jump out. I like that. What could you say to a viewer out there who's lost their fire?
Don't give up. Don't give up. You've got this. Find a person to help you. And it's okay. It's okay to ask for help.
And lastly, if Beth Houf was a word in a dictionary, what would be the definition?
I think love. You got to lead with love. And I know that that's some people, I wish I would have learned that a little bit quicker, is to make sure that love shines through. Love what you do, love who you serve, love who you are. and love the work you do, even the hard parts.
Woo! I love it. I love this portion of the interviews, man, when we go through these questions, and I use the same questions with every guest now. I love it. I appreciate you, Beth. This was a powerful interview, powerful time together. I can tell from the chats that folks are loving it. And I know the numbers, just in terms of the volume of people who watch it on video, a lot of people see this, and a lot of people are going to benefit from the fact that you spent time talking to the world today. So I thank you for the opportunity you gave me in bringing you on today. Let me close out. I'm going to put you backstage. Don't leave me yet. Let me just close it out. Thanks for everything. Hey, folks, week 79 is in the books. Next week is week 80. This was supposed to be 18 weeks, and we're on week 80. So for the newbies on here, get with us next week. We're going to be here live, 11 o'clock Eastern, 10:55 Eastern time. I'm going solo next week. But the week after, I'm bringing one of Beth's good buddies on. Her name is Dr. Sine. Dr. Sine Bell. She'll be on with us next week at 10:50. Not next week, the week after. And we're going to have a great discussion on a book that she wrote. Right. So put that in your calendar. But I'm going solo next week. I just want to holler at you by myself next week. Make sure you get the Equity and Social Justice Education 50, the Assistant Principal 50, and the Aspiring Principal 50 if you don't have them. Go to principalkafele.com for additional resources. Go to my YouTube channel, Virtual AP Leadership Academy, to see all the videos that you may have missed. All 79 weeks are there. They're all an hour, so you're going to have to block out 79 hours to watch all those videos, right? Subscribe to the channel, then go on to the Facebook page, Virtual AP Leadership Academy, and like and follow that page. I will have my commentary up. I'll be sitting in a hotel room tomorrow morning in St. Louis, but guess what? I'm still going to have that commentary up by 10 o'clock Eastern time. So just make sure that you go to that page and check out what I got to say, an extension of today's conversation. And then lastly, your diet, man. Take care of yourselves, folks. You can't lead if you're not healthy. So make sure you're taking care of yourself. Don't put any old crap in your system. Make sure you're eating good. Make sure you're getting the miles in. I went a couple of days. I didn't get the miles in, but I'll be in St. Louis tonight. I'm going to the fitness room. I'm going to do about 3 miles tonight, about 3 miles tomorrow, right? And then I'm going to watch football all day, right? So make sure that you're taking care of you. And I left my mask back there, so I can't put it on. Put on that mask, right? And let's keep everybody healthy. Other than that, I thank you for being here. I thank Principal Beth Houf for being here today. I'll see you next week, 10:55. Other than that, have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back all the way. Count to 3 with me. 1, 2, 3. Bam! I'll see you next week.